What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here on my personal YouTube channel where I talk about everything about investing in real estate, investing in alternative asset classes, and entrepreneurship and business overall. So on this episode, I wanted to talk about how the super rich invest in real estate. As many of you guys know, I've been getting involved in real estate over the past couple of years now. We own two different rental properties and managing them ourselves. We blog about this a lot. I'll link to my wife and I's blog that we talk a lot about real estate and various different things that we do in life itself. So I'll link to that below. But if you guys are brand new to the channel, welcome. Slap a like if you like real estate investing and these types of videos. And what I want to talk about today is LLCs, deeds, and trusts. Just a brief overview of what I've learned so far from buying real estate. So the majority of people will be buying properties personally. So that means that their name is on the deed, and that means that they are liable for the debt note of that mortgage. So they owe that back for 30 years, 15 years, whatever it may be. So that's step one, is understanding that if you're first learning about all this and you're new to the channel and you're new to real estate investing in general, you will be buying property as an individual or as joint if you're married. And there's a lot of perks to that as well with tax benefits. Consult a CPA on that. But that's the first stage, is understanding that. There's a lot of people out there that may talk about buying all these properties and scaling up. But there is that first step that you need to understand, that this is a personal liability. Like, you are taking this on yourself as an individual before you can do anything with an LLC or a trust, like deeding things over. So the next step in understanding how this all gets started is, once you, let's say, get into the process of buying a home, you have a title company, and the title company is, dealing with escrow payments and a process of getting the deed signed, getting everything transferred over to you from the seller. And once you do that as an individual, you have the debt note, you have that, you're making payments on it. If you're putting tenants in immediately, if you're living in it, house hacking it like we did, you can get some tenants in after you fixed it up and have done some work on it. And you put them in there, they start paying rent for the property and paying down that principal on the note that we just talked about. You're also getting appreciation on the property and cash flow. So 3 different ways of just absolutely crushing it in terms of generating wealth. So the second part here is having the ability to, all right, so we went over the deed. I got a call from my wife right there. So after you have gone through that process of going through the title, getting the property individually, the second part of the process is that you are going to deed something over. Now, the super wealthy and rich, they have multiple entities set up, LLCs, all across the country in different states, Wyoming, Nevada, for various different perks to the LLC structures. And once you have an LLC set up, depending on the actual operating agreement, there are a lot of different tactics that you can do. Like, for example, taking a small percentage of ownership in the LLC yourself, and having various other entities owning percentages of that LLC as members, like a trust. So once you have the LLC set up, what happens is you need to deed that over to the LLC. You need to deed the property over and have the ownership transfer over. Now, the kicker here that a lot of people get stumbled up upon is that there's a clause in most lenders that will say, hey, you owe the debt note in full if you transfer this over to something like an LLC. And this is what trips up a lot of people, because it costs money to pay the taxes for this, in addition to that risk of them calling the note and saying, you owe us because you're transferring this over. We signed it for you as an individual to owe this back, and you need to not transfer that over. So the workaround that a lot of wealthy people do is throwing in land trusts. Now, we're based in Florida. There's also land trusts, I believe, in Texas and a couple of other states maybe. But in Florida, Land trusts allow you to do things anonymously, essentially. You could create a name ABC trust, and you could be a trustee of that trust, and that trust would then own a membership or a member position in an LLC that then purchases a property or has been deeded over a property. So you're dealing with getting the property, once again, that first step, getting the property as an individual. You're setting up an LLC or a trust, and then you're deeding over that entity. You're deeding over that property to the entity. Sorry. So once you deed that over to the entity, like the LLC or a trust, it is then owned by that LLC, and you're protected from anything that may happen, limited liability on that. What is owned by that LLC. So that's like the quick process of how people buy it as an individual and transfer the deed over to an LLC or a trust. And there's a lot of different like creative things that people have done here, especially once you get up into the top echelon of people out there that are buying, you know, your Grant Cardone style properties where you're buying apartment complexes and things like that. Every single property that you have has its own LLC. You're, you know, a member in it. You have other members that are either trustees, and different ways to protect yourself. Now, what happened in 2001 during the .com bubble was there's a thing called Homestead Tax. This is a little bonus for you guys. Homestead Tax still exists today, but when you declare homestead, that is your home that you are using as a dwelling. In the state of Florida, creditors cannot come after that, even if you declare bankruptcy. As far as I know, you know, this could be not entirely up to par, but definitely do your own research here. I'm just saying what I've learned. Now, what happened in the .com was people decided, all right, if this can't be taken by creditors, I'm going to buy a $20 million mansion in Florida, and then I'm going to declare bankruptcy the next day. Declare that as my homestead before declaring bankruptcy, and that money's safe. That money is stored in a property. Now, this happened in mass by lots and lots of people from Wall Street, came down to Florida, declared homestead, moved their money into a mansion, $20 million, $10 million, whatever mansion, and proceeded to just declare bankruptcy, wipe the state clean, and all their money was locked in that property like a bank account. Now, the interesting thing is when you get to like the Bezos or the Zuckerberg level, you want to start buying property, let's say, and you don't want everybody to know about it. This happened in Hawaii. This has happened all over the entire world, basically, where you become a trustee of a trust, like I was talking about a land trust, for example, and you can go around and buy up properties with an LLC in cash and be entirely anonymous on public records. So no one can search your name. They couldn't search Zuckerberg in the that they're in, and they wouldn't see anything. They would just see a trust. It's ABC Trust, land trust, whatever. So that is a way that people buy anonymously. They don't tip off to big things that are happening in an area, because there's no such thing as insider trading in real estate. If it's an edge, a competitive edge, if you understand something about an area, you're able to get ahead of it and make that appreciation and get high rents and whatnot if you know something. And that happens a lot because people want to remain anonymous. They want to be able to get in and make some money off of deals and whatnot. So they'll set up a land trust, become a trustee, and that trust will be a majority member of an LLC that is then buying up properties in cash or various different types of financing through that LLC. So really remarkable things that people do. A lot of creativity in this arena here with asset protection. I definitely recommend a couple people that I will link in the description below that you guys should check out if you're getting into real estate. It's good to understand this stuff and just get a broad overview to start before you get into it, just so you know some of the things that are going to be happening. Like I didn't know about doc stamps, and doc stamp is essentially just the tax that's going to be taken when you deed something like a property over into an LLC. That's basically the county trying to get tax from what's going on, or the state trying to get money from that transaction that's taking place. So everybody wants to get their pockets full. That's just how this works. In every transaction, everybody's looking out for themselves, trying to make some money. And when you're deeding things over, be very careful. That clause that I was talking about, always consult either an accountant or an asset protection attorney so that you know what the risks are to doing this. but there are a lot of people who do this every day. Thousands of people that are deeding things left and right, and having that deed transfer is publicly available so people can see it in various different databases in your county, where you're based or where you're buying. And I think that there is a lot of interesting things that I don't know yet, that I've been researching. I'm not comfortable talking about entirely yet. So I'm really excited to start sharing more of that on the channel here, because you guys have suggested a lot of different things over the past few months here around real estate, since many of you know my story in it. But that is it for this, just about how the wealthy are doing it, and a high level version. Do your own research, as I said before, but know this stuff backwards and frontwards before you get involved in something like setting up an LLC and deeding things over. Important knowledge power makes you feel a little bit more comfortable when you're doing things, and above all, you want to be very informed when you're doing 6-7 figure deals. So that is it for this episode. Definitely slap a like if you guys really enjoyed this content. I'm going to try and do more about this, because there's a lot that I'm learning, and a lot of high net worths that have reached out to me and talked to me about this. And I have mentors that are high net worths that are investing in real estate, so they teach me some of the behind the scenes deal making around here, not only in Florida but in Texas and various different places in the Midwest and things like that. But that's it for this episode. Slap a like, and I'll see you guys on the next one.